Join me on a journey uncovering the fascinating story of the Huguenots in the 17th century. So who were the French Huguenots? Well, they were French Protestants who followed the teachings of John Calvin during the Protestant Reformation in the 16th and 17th centuries. Now the Reformation was a big deal in Europe. It was a movement that aimed to reform what some saw as corrupt practices within the Roman Catholic Church. And John Calvin was a key player in this reform. His teachings, known as Calvinism, had a huge impact on the Huguenots. Calvinism was a bit different from other forms of Protestantism. It had some unique ideas like the doctrine of predestination, which taught that God had already decided who would go to heaven or hell. And it also put a lot of emphasis on the sovereignty of God, the importance of individual faith, and the direct interpretation of the Bible. Now these ideas were very different from the teachings of the Catholic Church, which was the main religion in France at the time. And as the Huguenot population grew, so did the tension with the Catholic majority and the French monarchy. Things got so bad that the 16th century was basically a battleground between Catholics and Huguenots, with numerous wars being fought over this religious divide. The wars were brutal, and there were lots of casualties on both sides. But despite the violence, the Huguenots kept growing in number. Finally, in 1598, King Henry IV issued the Edict of Nantes. This was a pretty big deal because it granted the Huguenots many rights, like freedom of conscience, the right to practice their religion, and the right to have fortified towns for their own protection. It was almost like a peace treaty, you know? A truce between Catholics and Huguenots. This treaty lasted for almost 100 years, which is kind of surprising when you consider how hostile the environment was before. It gave the Huguenots a chance to breathe, to establish schools, to build places of worship, and to contribute to French society without fear of persecution. But good times don't last forever, right? In 1685, King Louis XIV revoked the Edict of Nantes. He basically went back on the deal that his father had made with the Huguenots. From that point on, the Huguenots were in big trouble. They could convert to Catholicism, which some did, or they could try to keep their faith secret and practice it in hiding, which was dangerous. Or they could leave France and go to one of the other Protestant countries, like England, the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, or even North America. And this mass exodus of Huguenots fleeing persecution is part of what we call the Huguenot diaspora. It's a sad chapter in history, but it's also a testament to the strength and resilience of the Huguenots. They didn't just sit around and wait for things to get better, they took action. They picked up and left everything behind in search of a better life elsewhere. Many of them had to hide their identity and pretend to be something they were, unjust to survive. Now, if you want to learn more about the Huguenots, there are plenty of resources out there. You can read books, watch documentaries, or even visit museums dedicated to their history. But no matter how you choose to learn about them, I think it's important to remember their story because it's a story of courage, resilience, and the pursuit of freedom of religion, something that many of us take for granted today.